I'll try this a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks that I know. I'm getting tired of talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change.
Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're not being too fed up being cooped up. I certainly am getting a little bit on the bored side of things. So I've been playing a heap load of City Skylines, and I've been recording stuff and not doing the narrative whilst doing it, which makes these, to me, a little bit harder to do. So here I've got another zone, and as you can see I've already kind of added the end part of it, which is a little bit of a fragment of land that sticks out effectively into the river system, and as you can see I've added a little bit more of a residential zone. So in between playing the game and recording the videos but not making any videos, I also watched one of the Sam Bur film videos that I'm going to link up here, which I found really fascinating. He is a city planner, and what the video was all about the hierarchy of public transport, and when he explains it, it's like, oh, that's pretty obvious. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't understand why I didn't see this in the first instance. And after watching the video, I decided I really do need to do something along those lines, because I am putting bus routes in all over the place, and when you watch his video, it's like, okay, I can understand it. A little bit of a bus route here, a little bit of a bus route there, and actually when you watch what they're doing, it makes a lot of sense. Now I've also got quite a long stretched bit of metro, which I think is okay, but I do have a really long piece of monorail, which I think again probably wouldn't be used, although because it's taking, people from a residential area to a place of work effectively, then it's probably okay in this instance. But in future cities, when I'm doing the build, I'm going to try to use some more of his hierarchical ideas and keep them in the back of my mind so that I do them correctly. Now I've also decided that on this particular one, because I watched the video, I wanted to make a few changes, and I have done that. So I was using the buses predominantly. I wanted to use the trolley buses just because they are new and part of the Sunset DLC. So I've created this little area here which has got a lot of the commercial areas. Now one of the things that he highly recommended was where you've got areas of high noise public transport, so metro, monorail, train stations, you surround that with some work, some commercial zones. This was one of the areas that I thought first of all I would try to do. So as you can probably see, I have created up my commercial zone in a very square fashion, mainly because I wanted to try to use the modern city centres to bring the buildings up. And I've also put a small link off to one side where I'm going to put the actual trolleybus station, so that the trolley buses can move from there and across. Now obviously this can be a very busy area, because this is like one of the main roads in to this entire residential zone, so trying to reduce the amount of traffic coming in is quite key. So using some of the public transport here is very useful in my mind. Now my bus routes are huge. I've got a huge amount of buses going around, and as you can see I've got basically a train terminal that comes up and deposits a load of people. It's one of the new Sunset Harbour terminals, so it takes train to metro, and I've used metro using the new overhead metro options to an overhead platform which is at the far end of this residential zone. So one of the things I wanted to do was ensure that traffic does not use all the little cuts that I've got. So I'm using a traffic manager to enable some bus roads and ensuring that just certain vehicles can go down those roads. Now they've improved TMPE in version 11, so now you can basically click on a section. If you hold down shift and say ban all, you can see that little line comes up, and the entire length of that road now will get blocked or banned, or the options can be turned on or off as you require. Speeds up doing these kind of things hugely. So obviously that particular road, I wanted to restrict what traffic could go up and down, and you can see just looking at my bus routes I've got quite a lot, and I wanted to ensure that I can reduce those, use the trolley buses in certain areas, and maybe use a large, although when you look at it, Sam Bur doesn't do this. I'm using I want to use trolley buses from this area and around, although actually I probably shouldn't do that, just because that's probably not prototypical. It's not what normally occurs. The other thing I wanted to do was, which I saw Sam do in one of his, was I've got a little commercial area by the metro station, and I added trams in it. Now, after watching some of the sims, I realised that actually when they get to the metro station and they walk into the school, I didn't actually need to put in any trams because it's such a small area. They were happy to actually walk in. For those of you who've got this far in the video and are eagle-eyed, you will have noticed actually I've been talking trolley buses, and actually I am putting in trams. So this particular area has got some trams in it. Now, I do actually add trams also at the other metro station, and I run a little tram line from the tram depot all the way to it. So this is the other end of the metro. This is where I'm now going to add another little sort of tram circuit. The idea behind this is the people who can get off of the metro, they can walk a little distance, they can get on a tram and go around some of the commercial and high density residential areas, but they are going to move to another main road which is going to be provided by another alternative public transport, and I think that is buses. So you can see I've got a little bit of a tram route, and I've got this large sort of round looping around the outside bus routes. So I've decided that I needed to create a smaller, as per Sam's instructions or guidance, a smaller little bus route that takes you around the bottom area and isn't so complicated. Now, probably watching this back, I should have probably only done not such a complicated route, but just maybe go out to the left, down, across and back up. Although I have got the larger route that people can catch the buses for, so this may be still too much or too larger of a bus route, considering I've got that larger external one running around. But this does mean the blue route does allow me to move from the trams, from the metro, and around the kind of the lower area of that residential and commercial zone. Now I'm kind of assuming that because I've now got these bus routes in, that you can see the little upgrade symbols going, the houses are levelling up or upgrading, however you want to say it, and people are moving in because I've got this public transport, which is excellent. Thanks, Sam. So as you can see, the metro deposit is a huge number of sims, and they go off, and I thought, wow, where are these guys going? I've got this lovely tram route for them and some buses, and I decided to follow where they went. And this is the other thing, obviously the sims do walk a fair distance by themselves, so I've put these pathways in these residential zones so that the sims can move around, and they were effectively trying to get here. So you can see this massive swarm of sims. They've just got off of the metro and they don't use any other public transport. Why would they? In fact, it's probably quite close, and you can see the metro transportation is working rather well at that point. So the city has a huge demand for residential areas, so this is another little spot in this kind of big zone that I've got. So I figured I'm going to add a little bit more of a residential area, and as you'll see in a minute, I actually do, as per Sam's instructions. I hope, Sam, they are correct. I go and put the commercial area backing onto the metro line, so that shields the residential areas from the extreme noise that the metro would actually create. Again, taking the advice of Sam, I think I've got a link up here, check out his channel and videos. I've added a small circuit for buses, so I guess buses can come around the exterior perimeter, they drop people off, they can then choose to use a local service into that sort of small district. So for those of you who have watched some of my previous videos, I am really bad at kind of the whole beautification and bits and pieces, and trees just seem to make the areas look slightly nicer. So I'm using the forest brush mod here just to try to add a few more trees in really quickly and densely in the areas, just to make them look a little bit more natural. So this is another really good mod. It's kind of like the advanced vehicle selector mod or something along those lines. You can choose which vehicles, if you've got multiple kind of assets added for vehicles, buses are used on a particular route. You can also see which vehicles are currently out, because sometimes, you know, you just click it out and they just roll off the line. you will have a massive selection of school buses, this, that, different colours, and you can obviously go and then say remove those, and they actually will decide to go back to the bus depot and effectively get swapped over for whatever vehicle you selected. Now you can select one specific type or lots of different types to run on the line. Now I have realised that actually it looks much nicer if you just have one type of bus being used on one route as opposed to lots of different buses going around the area. So I've been going slowly around my city and changing that, so that is what is happening. Also, the other thing is you tend to do clockwise and anti-clockwise routes, and I haven't done this and I should go around and change them. I really like to keep the same type of buses going in both directions as opposed to having, you know, one as a double decker and one as a single decker option. And the trees I've just put down are now alight. Fantastic. One thing that I am doing far more in this particular city is I'm adding a lot more of the parks using the Park Life DLC. The reason being, they look really nice, they generate a little bit of money if you add them, because basically the Sims will move from one side to the other using your park as a walkway. Now I have seen Biffa do this to sort of generate cash by just putting a bridge over, say, the metro and the tram lines. But this way actually just makes the city look much nicer, having these big open spaces which have got appeal, and it works really well. So as you can see, the Sims absolutely love using public transport. They will wait around for ages, even, it occurs to me, when buses don't ever seem to come past. And I was thinking, well, why is that happening? So I clicked on one and they waited and waited, and they were meant to go to work, and then they decided to go home. So that was it. I decided to check, and it turns out that for whatever reason, the bus service, the route, had 0 buses assigned to it. So once I sorted that out, the buses came flooding out of the depot and started picking up those Sims still waiting at the bus stop. So for whatever reason, my offices are not being built. I don't seem to have a huge amount of demand for like the commercial, which I think commercial doesn't actually do offices. Offices is under the industry, but I am willing to be corrected. So, you know, let me know in the comments below if offices are only built when you've got industrial demand. Anyway, I thought, I'll tell you what, I quite fancy putting a nice little park right next to the metro station. It's in a little bit of a commercial zone, so, you know, people will go there for a bit of shopping. And when I look back at many places, they have parks in those zones. It's like an attraction for people to come and visit. And if you've got a nice place to sit down and have a sandwich and a coffee and a cake, for instance, then you might actually use the park, be willing to pay for the park, or you might go to the area because of the park and then pick up your tea, coffee, cake, latte, cappuccino, flat white, whatever it is that you actually fancy having. So it's quite a small area, so I can cram in as much as I possibly can. Actually, and it's one of the probably prouder parks that I've done, because it was in a little area. It wasn't bland, but I do manage to get a few bits and pieces in there. So I've done some work on the public transport here. I have sort of looked at what Sam Bur did, and I've tried to rearrange some of my areas. I've got trams in the offices and commercial areas, surrounded by a few buses going into residential areas. I've got one metro running between station to station, moving far more people in and out of that kind of dense area than with buses and trams running from there outwards. Hopefully that'll make a difference, and that's a bit more realistic, as Sam apparently is Sam says he's a city planner, so he knows what he's talking about. I've linked to his channel if you're interested to see his stuff.
Think I'd try this a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks that I know. I'm getting tired of talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up. Lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I won't be turning around, no, I won't be turning around. It's the right time, you feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. I think I'll do it on my way. I'm gonna show you what I'm going through. Get you out of your comfort zone. 'Cause I need more of the truth right now. It's time that you made your mind up. 'Cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other